we're probably going to be jumping into our book discussion. And guys, remember, we'll be talking about the book, but we're also going to be having some Q&As after this. We're going to be talking about the book, Andor, and anything else. So you can start putting questions in there, and we'll try to get to those later. But
yeah, I would definitely submit some now so that they're already in there when we get to them.
Yeah, and it can be anything you want to ask. Anything. There's nothing off the table for me when it comes to Star Wars. Is there anything off the table for you?
I don't know, maybe.
I don't think
I'd have to figure out what it is, though.
I've been talking about it for my
like,
whole
nope,
life,
that's off
and
the
I've
table.
yet to find the limit.
That's it. Can't do that one. All right. Well, and let's talk about the book. This was, let's see, what was it called? The Reign of the Empire?
Reign of the Empire.
Mask of Fear?
The Mask of Fear. The first of 3 books.
Sure. A lot of times these have trilogies that they're doing, and this is the Reign of the Empire trilogy. Is the idea, right?
Like we really focus primarily on 3 characters, and that's Mon Mothma, Bale Antilles, and Saw Gerrera. Though I did get the feeling that maybe each book might have because I felt like this was more Mon Mothma's book.
Really?
Like a little less Bale, and then a lot less Saw. I wonder if the next one will be like more Bale, and then the next one will be more Saw. You know, like that was kind of the plan for the sequel trilogy. This is more Han's movie. This is more Luke's movie, and then the last was supposed to be more Leia's movie. But obviously, we couldn't do that because Carrie Fisher had passed away. But I don't know. I kind of got that feeling because I really felt like, especially on Saul's part, like
I get you on Saul's part.
You know?
I guess I didn't think about Mon and Bale. I felt like they were both in it a good bit, but then you also had some other characters around them that we had various story bits with Sujan, and
Chimish and Hacks. What's the other guy's name?
Hati.
Is that what it is? Anyway, overall, how'd you feel about the book?
Actually, I mean, I think I liked it. I don't think I would have loved this book when I was younger.
Yeah, I will say, this is made for fans of Andor. So, yeah, I don't think this is a book made for the young readers in mind. This is like 20 and up, I would say. But yeah, it's definitely it is not a young youth reader book, in my opinion. If you like the Star Wars and politics, and in my opinion, Andor is like the pinnacle of Star Wars and politics, I feel like this is much more on that side than the space opera or the fantasy.
Yeah, this has a lot more of the politics of it. It has a lot more political spying, agendas, like some of that kind of stuff. I feel like it'd be like more of Andor and the Senate scenes in Episode 1 are like the things that you're getting in this book, I think. Yeah. Which, I mean, by the end of it, like a lot of the way things came together with the story, like I think overall, like I liked the book a lot. There's a few elements of the book that felt like it hit too close to home in like a present day sense. That I was like, oh man, and I think I struggled trying to get through some parts because of that. But then like getting into more of the Star Wars lore and stories and stuff too, I thought it was really good.
That's the thing about fantasy, right? Like especially like the music selection for Star Wars is such that no matter what era in the far future, it's still going to feel fresh because it's a classical oxygen in that story. But I mean, Star Wars is as big as it is because it's always relevant. There's always, you can always find things that are happening in the real world and apply it. That's the great thing about fiction. But I will agree that sometimes I go to Star Wars for escapism, and there were many parts of this book where I'm like, oh no, I'm being sucked back in with these terrible feelings.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, one of the things I liked about this book is that it answered a question that I don't know if people ask it a lot, but the idea that the Emperor has killed off all the Jedi. I mean, all, but, there's stragglers out there. But essentially, like, the Jedi Temple has been ransacked. All the Jedi have been killed.
Yeah.
The Jedi are bad. They tried to kill the Emperor or the Chancellor at the time, like, all that has happened. And then, like, as you go through and you catch, like, elements of, like, later stories, the Jedi either aren't mentioned very much. Like, it doesn't seem like it was a big deal. Like, no one seemed to care that the Jedi were killed. And I'm like, did anyone care except for like the other Jedi? Like there's of course going to be people who are really strong that connected the Jedi in some way or fashion that we've had stories about various times. But this one really goes into like the political stance. And Bale's main mission, the whole book, like he starts off in a memorial I don't know, event on Jeddah where it's about the loss of the Jedi. And I don't know exactly what they're doing. There's like a big stone wheel that they're like moving and
the
stuff.
Church of the Force thing.
But it's like, it's for an in memory of the Jedi kind of thing. And his whole story is around like, I must prove their innocence. I must like release the truth somehow, and I got to find the information. And like, while all that's happening, there's still like people like Mon Mothma or others being like, why? Like, even if we go and we tell the entire galaxy what the Jedi did or didn't do, what do we then get from there? Because all the Jedi are dead. Yeah. Most of the people are wanting to try to prove loyalty to the Emperor. They're worried about their own safety, and there aren't even Jedi to save us for us to be like, oh, the Jedi are all good, but they're all gone now. So what do we do? So like, there's this weird middle ground that I think Bale is kind of stuck in, where he's like, I want to prove that the Jedi were not bad, that they weren't trying to just kill the Chancellor for no reason, and Mon Mothma and others are fighting for like what they can do now, what is actually worth doing, as opposed to like, if we clear their name, what does that gain us? And I guess looking at the I don't know, the idea of what the galaxy is looking at, like what is each individual planet after, like clearing the name of the Jedi isn't going to help them in this situation. And it's kind of sad in the sense of like what this book does with all that, because Bail Organa changes from being at a memorial for Jedi to like by the end of the book, like just kind of apologizing to the heir of like, I'm sorry, my friends, but I have to do what I think's right for my daughter. Yeah. And I think there's a line that Bria says where it's like, the sins of the previous generation shouldn't be the responsibility of the next generation. And it really feels like I don't want Leia to have to be trying to prove if the Jedi were good or not. She has no idea who they were or anything. Yeah. I don't want that to be the legacy that they're being left with. And it's a weird journey for Bail Organa to go through. But I think this book like really answered a question that I didn't know, I guess, was a question of like, why does no one care about the Jedi being dead? And the answer is kind of like, what would it do if they were told the truth? What would happen?
Yeah, like, you know, the Jedi have been with and guarding the Republic for literal millennia, but 3 short years of the Clone Wars, Palpatine's able to convince everybody the Jedi are power hungry and want to take over the galaxy. Yeah. You know, 3 years. But, you know, for me, like, that kind of shows the strength of this book, in that, like, Bale has his opinions, and Mon will be like, look, you have your idealism, but we have to be practical about this. And then Saul will be like, screw both of y'all, let's blow it up, you know? And I love, like, the ending of this book. Like, these 3 characters do not agree with each other, but they will not bow down to authoritarianism, you know, where it's like, well, we're disagreeing about what we should do. The answer isn't, just listen to that guy and don't question him. The answer is fight and talk and figure out the right way together, you know?
Sure.
And you can get that feeling of like one day these 3 could come together and form the rebels, you know? But not yet.
Sure.
You know, we got more books to go to.
No, it's interesting having them in an alliance, but also most of their alliance is kind of like, how do we do what we all want to do without getting in each other's way?
Yeah, sure.
Like, it's not really like we are working together to help each other. Yeah. We are working together so that all of us can still be trying to fight the Empire, but not hinder. Because so much of this was like each of them kept falling into each other. Like, Mon Mothma at one point's like, oh no, I need some cover stories. I'll throw out Bale's name. I'll throw out this name.
Dude, I was shocked when she did that.
Yeah, I mean, and like,
that shocked me.
And then where Bale was, like, that wasn't a good time for that. And then it caused more problems. And Bale ended up falling into some Saul stuff, and like that caused some more problems too. So it's like
that shocked me, but I had to remind myself, like, she got tortured.
Sure.
Like day 1. Yeah. You know, like that's gonna change things for you. So I was like, wow, she's doing that now. That's crazy.
But it was also like she wasn't expecting him to be involved in something. It was like, let me throw out a couple names, because that was what that one person talked to him about, was like, give me a few people that they'll go look at them, and since they're looking at them, they're not going to look at you right now. And that was kind of all she was thinking about. But But no, just what they're doing to try to help the galaxy. You don't want to also hinder each other when they're all trying to do the same thing. Like, perhaps Eode Juretz would be in better shape had Bale not shown up where he showed up. That interrupted Saul doing the Saul stuff he was doing. You know, like.
Can you say it again?
I think it's Eode Juretz.
That sounds way better than
Juretz,
my attempts.
Something like
I
that.
love it. I love that.
Which I think is a city.
I think so.
It's not a planet, I don't think. It's on a planet, sure, but I think it's the city because they talked about the loss of the skyscrapers and like all the historical aspects of everything. But
in terms of
whichever
like,
one it is,
and in terms of like fantasy tropes, like when it comes to like Star Wars, I always kind of consider planet cities anyway. In terms of like the scale of government and stuff, like in my head, I'm always kind of thinking that way. Anyways, I gotcha.
Gotcha.
But it is a planet. It's
Coruscant-like.
Coruscant-like. I don't know what that word is. An ancient one. They wreck part of it.
Sure. It's an ancient one because it's got the historical relevance, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, I don't know, old buildings in like Rome or whatever, right?
Sure.
Old buildings in Rome have,
you know,
like, it might have been.
Or was that his Sam Witwer alarm?
I think it was his Sam Witwer alarm. That's probably what it was. So, like, just having these locations that meant a lot to the galaxy, and then this destruction. Long story short, I assume you guys have read this. Otherwise, we're gonna get into spoilers and stuff with
Spoilers.
it. But
and if you haven't read it and you're not going to, then this is how you'll know.
The escape that Saul does to blow up these caverns and try to get out, they don't know what exactly is going to happen, and in the result, they destroy this historical city, and or at least parts of it, I guess.
That's Saul Guerrero to a T.
And Saul's response to that was kind of like, "Dang, well, that kind of sucks."
Oh well.
Yeah. It's like, no options. That's what we had to do. But that and then what they have in their speech later pushes the terrorist side of Saul and the partisans and all that to where, like, I thought it was interesting having Saul be like, we are now the most wanted group in the galaxy. Like, we are going to be target, enemy number one because the Empire already hasn't liked us. But now all these people are going to be mad at us because of the history that we just destroyed. And that's because of Bale and Mon, which is also another way of them getting in each other's way. Like, now it's harder for Saul because they had to fix this that happened. Yeah. Like, there's... No, I like the idea that they have an alliance, but also the alliance they have, I think, fits with what I know of them in Star Wars, because we see later in, like, Rebels and stuff where, like, Mon Mothma is like, no, you don't want to work with, I was going to say Forrest, but Saul Guerrero, because they're real bad people. And we see them be real bad people in various things. We saw that with the Jyn Erso books and stuff.
No, he's it's hard to talk about this book without talking about Andor. But even just in the previous episodes that we've seen, like, the Empire is like, hey, we can make progress by just accelerating the situation, and that's exactly what Saul does. He's like, yeah, I'll just pour gas on the fire. And then I just have to work quicker than you do, Because if it's a matter of if it's a war of attrition, the Empire's going to win every time.
Yeah.
We got to pour gas on this thing and then go as fast as we can.
Or Rhydonium.
Yeah, or Rhydonium, yeah, which apparently is awesome. It's not just blowing up colors. It'll blow up colors in your mind.
Yeah, open your mind.
Yeah.
I did try to... And maybe I'll go through these at some point here. But I took a lot of notes, I felt like, through the story because this was just one, with it being political and stuff too, like, there wasn't always a bunch of points where it's like, oh, this is a lightsaber fight. Like, for those ones, I don't usually take notes. Like, oh, he attacked his shoulder, Like, I'm just kind of, like, listening to those. But this one was like, okay, this person's name, okay. And all this information for political stuff. But
matches Andor.
But I also tried to write down, in a way, my reactions to things. Mm-hmm. So, like, during the Saul thing, I put, Saul destroyed that historic city and didn't care. And I just put an exclamation point. I was like, geez, Saul. Like, it just really pushed that Saul thing. I don't know. Especially as early on in the Empire. This is 3 weeks into the Empire being the Empire now. And we learned that Mon Mothma and Bale? I'm trying to remember if it was both of them or just Mon Mothma. Like, they're both against the Emperor being the Emperor. So they're, like, Mon Mothma was arrested. And I thought Bale might have been arrested too, or he was at least considered on, like, terrorist. What was it? I don't remember what it was called, but it was kind of like for overthrowing. It's a terrorist act. It's against the Empire. Mm-hmm. And then they get kind of put on watch things and stuff too because of that. But I don't know. A lot of that kind of stuff just I don't like the Empire to begin with, and a lot of this stuff just felt really hard to listen to sometimes with like the way Masamada shows up and what he shows Mon Mothma. I was like, this is terrible.
Yeah, like as we're going through and we're trying to get this bill signed into law to limit the powers of the Emperor, I'm like, that sounds awesome. There's no way it works. And it worked. I was like, oh, cool. And Masama's like, it didn't work.
Yeah.
You know why?
He's
like, because he's the Emperor.
Yeah. It was like, it doesn't matter what you do. Yeah. We'll play the dance for politics, but we're still going to do what we're going to do. And you actually have no control.
Play the dance. And they do that for like 20 years until the Death Star is ready.
Yeah.
And then it blows up day one.
And it leads Mon Mothma to where she ends up, right? Like, she's a pacifist. She's a politician. Mm-hmm. And like by the end of this book, she's like, I'm a hypocrite. Yeah. You know, I'm not these things. I've killed a man, which I wrote down. Mon Mothma blew that dude up.
Yeah, dude.
Which I thought was crazy.
Yeah.
But it was, I don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of got it, but also I was kind of like, dang, just let him go. Let him go and just see what happens.
I know. We like, you know, she's a character in the moment. We have foresight.
Yeah, I know. It's like when I watched episode 3 again this past week in theaters. And
That's right. You went and saw episode 3.
Like, oh, maybe this time he won't do it.
Dude, could you imagine if he didn't?
Could you imagine?
Could you imagine you went in a theater? It's like there's one theater in the country that George Lucas has changed the ending again.
Now, I'm just picturing them doing like, oh guys, episode 3 is back in theaters, and it's like a what if movie, but they don't tell you, and you start watching it, and this time he doesn't cut off Mace Windu's arm, and they just stab the Emperor, and he goes home and bangs Padme, you know, and that's the whole thing.
Pretty much the alternate ending to the episode 3 game, the PlayStation game. Like, Anakin just lands and kills Obi-Wan, and then the Emperor's like, hey, good job, you killed him. He's like, oh, thanks, and he just kills the Emperor and rules the galaxy.
There you go. And then he I don't want him to rule the galaxy. I want the Senate to still be there, and I want them to all work together, but
you have
that
the
would
gift
be
of foresight.
Crazy idea.
Mon made that decision, you know, and I now can bring that decision with me when I see her in Andor. You know, that was a long time ago for her.
Yeah,
16 years ago.
Yeah,
damn,
16 years ago. But no,
I do like also. You know, we talked about how Bale was missing the Jedi, but they're also missing Padme. Like Padme's influence in there. Like you get the sense that if Padme were there, like a lot of their differences could be settled. You know?
Yeah. She was like the peacekeeper between Mon and Bale kind of thing, or the differences.
Yeah. And like, I think it's important to show that, right? Like, because Padme is in the delegation of 2000 and leads those deleted scenes that we do get Mon Mothma and Bale in, and a bunch of other senators, but Padme's the one leading it, and we don't. As I want to say, like, oh, it's so great that we get more Mon Mothma stuff because it makes up for not having those scenes because they were cut out. It just highlights how upset I am that Padme got those scenes cut, because she was so important there, and we feel her absence, and we'll continue to in more books with this series. So
yeah.
We have a super chat from Olucho, who is saying something that Nexus also put down in the other chat, but it, quote, authority is brittle. Oppression is the mask of fear. Remember that. Karis Nimic, who was the kid with the manifesto in Andor Season 1. So the mask of fear is coming from a line of Andor. Quite enjoy that. Did not remember it. That kid said a lot of really cool stuff, but I don't have them memorized like I do a lot of other Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool. Thank you guys for pointing that out, and thank you for the super chat.
But no, I don't know. Just the story for all of them. Mon Mothma changed a lot. I don't know if Saw changed a lot because, like you said, we didn't get a lot of Saw.
You don't
time.
get a lot. He's more like a character. They don't even like get in his head. Like it's just the other characters
really.
looking at him, which is why I kind of hope that the other books might do that. But if they don't, I won't be upset.
Sure.
But that's the thing. Every time we see Saw, I have to kind of guess what's going on in his head. I'm constantly, because he's paranoid, I'm paranoid around him,
Yeah,
but
sure.
I'd like to be able to get a maybe it's not possible. I want to get a foothold in his mind, but we know it's not the most stable, so maybe you can't get a foothold.
See, I felt like you said Saw especially, and I don't know how much of a part Saw is meant to be in these, but I felt like the character I ended up liking more as the story went on was what I thought the third character of the book was, like the third main character. I felt like it was Bale, it was Mon, and it was Sujan.
And Sujan, yeah, sure.
Which I thought was interesting because he's like he's like an agent of the Separatists, and he is now here in a time when there's no more Separatists, like anything.
Yeah.
They've been taken over by the Empire. The war has just ended. Like, I thought his
None of their issues have been solved by this being an Empire.
Like, he was like, I had a mission, and now he's like faltering, trying to figure out what his mission should be now. And from a Separatist especially, like, we've seen so much, especially in the movies, of the Republic side. And even in episode 3, when it's like heroes on both sides fighting this war, and I'm like, just watching those 3 movies, you don't get that. It feels like the Separatists are just bad.
Yeah.
You watch Clone Wars, and you get a little bit more of that, and you get to meet some other people from Separatist worrolds and what they're dealing with and going through. And
you get Christopher Lloyd in The Mandalorian. He was a Separatist.
Sure, yeah, right?
But he doesn't really paint much of a light for
He's
them.
closer to like Sujan here, where he's like, that war never ended. It just stopped. The Empire took over, and I'm still against the Empire. So he's like this super strong Separatist like dude, right?
Yeah.
And Sujan's in that same spot where it's like, what do you mean? Like, I'm still fighting. Well, we're not. Why is the war just over? Why'd the battle droid shut down? Like that perspective, I thought was interesting to have here. In this one, and he was also like implanted with extra upgrades and things too to be like an assassin. So as his story went through, I liked him meeting Saw in their group and trying to be like, well, maybe this could work for me.
Yeah.
Then I liked whenever he was with Bale, and he's like, hey, Bale, I got that information you want. And you're like, oh, damn. We can clear the Jedi? Maybe we do clear the Jedi and no one cares.
Yeah.
And then we just go from there. But maybe Palpatine spins it again like he did with Bad Batch when they were talking about the clones and stuff. It's like, that's why we need stormtroopers, you know? So I wasn't sure what was going to happen with that, but he kept on kind of rotating what he thought his mission should be from meeting Saw, from meeting Bale, from meeting Mon. And I thought his like loss of direction because of like he was like in a pod and then just kind of came out and it's like, well, this is where we are now. I kind of liked him as a character, but I liked it more as a perspective of Separatist like people as a whole. So
agreed. And I really felt for Bale when his proof was poofed.
No, I was surprised by that. And some of my things that I had too, I really like that we talked about Bale and how he made that decision about what to do with the Jedi for his daughter and stuff too. He had a line that I really liked that was, Jedi may not have attachments, but I do.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's right. I mean, like, he isn't. And I thought his story of Argent, I think was the Jedi that like lived with him or something like that. There was like some kind of like
Agent or Argent?
I thought it was Argent
okay.
because he then looked at like a statue or something that was like Argent Dawn.
Yeah, okay.
And I was like, I've heard of Argent Dawn before.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if it was like a server on Swator or what it was, but I remember that. And then I went back and I'm like, okay, so his last name's Argent.
Yeah.
But I thought that his connection as a kid, like nostalgia for this, space wizard and the magic of these and how good of people they are, and then growing up to see more of them just for them to be slaughtered and killed, and like I get why his journey was what he wanted it to be and why he wanted to clear their name so badly.
You kind of get a sense like Bale, like he loves the Jedi philosophy so much that like maybe when he was younger he was like, I want to be a Jedi,
Yeah, like in the first chapter, like there was like that admiral who was there also during that memorial, and he like, I don't think the admiral responded, but he tells him like why he cares about the Jedi so much, and I thought that was interesting to have. But in the retrospect of that versus him in like his final chapter of like looking and thinking about his daughter, thinking about what the galaxy needs, what he should do for the future, and having to just push all that away and be the idea that Jedi can't have attachments, but I do, and I have to do what's right for my attachments is like his driving factor there. Yeah. And I'm like, man, it's so sad, but I get it too. Yeah. Especially like having kids where it's like I would need to do what's good for them, even though I feel like I need to do this, I won't be here for her. And what was it that Bria talked about with Leia? I wonder if I think I wrote it down, but I don't remember what it was, but it was talking about, like, she's going to look to you. Like, Bale is so good at talking to people, at bringing people together, and she's going to watch you. do that, and she can be someone like that too.
Yeah.
But it's like, but what's the reason that she's going to be like that? And Leia becomes such a big part of the rebellion. And when she talks about like the sins of the fathers kind of thing with the generations and what they have to fight for, there's like a kind of a conversation about like you don't want her to have to grow up fighting for what our generation has done.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that's pretty much all she did. Like she was a rebel, right?
She might be the best that's ever done it.
Yeah, like she was a rebel.
Rebel.
Even when they destroyed the Empire, she started to rebuild with that and then they grew up a resistance, and she led that resistance. Like
Trained as a Jedi with her brother.
Yeah, I don't know if part of it's like she, some people would say like Saul grew up fighting, he never knew how not to fight.
Yeah. Like
Leia may have also done that a little bit, but it was always against like terrible reign and regimes and stuff of like what they were wanting to do, and that was Leia's life.
I keep going back to Ewan McGregor's performance as Obi-Wan at the end of the Obi-Wan series, where he's like, you have this of your father, but these are gifts from your mother. That's those two characters combined. I feel like Leia gets that almost more than Luke, in terms of like she has the Padme in her.
Yeah.
And I think Bale recognizes / kind of stoked that fire in her. So, yeah.
No, I agree. When talking about terrible things, I said about Masamada, like he led them to like the re-education camps. I thought that was terrible for the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
One that was like a weird moment that I didn't know how I should feel about exactly either was, I think it's the same admiral from the first chapter that shows up.
Yeah.
Bale has protesters outside, and the admiral shows up.
Yeah.
And there's like this weird nod thing he has where he's like, "Here, I'm here to help you." But he just starts like shooting into the crowd and stuff too. And even Bale's like, "I don't know if I should say thank you. I don't know if I should like call for help because of this terrible thing that's happened." But they're like, "We have a vote and we have to just go." And they just put their head down and ignore it. And I'm like, that's like nothing happens with that. Like that guy was able to just do that. Like even if he was just helping Bale, and I'm like, that's it.
Yep.
We just shot into these people, and he I think he described it as like a massacre or something.
Yeah.
And yeah,
it
just seemed what the Empire can do without anyone seeming to care.
It's the thing that you said earlier, where it's like, man, yeah, I want Star Wars to be escapism from real life, but I constantly have to remind myself, like, consequences don't just happen. Like the way things. Like, the right way doesn't just happen. Like, you have to make the right things happen. And if you don't respond to things, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of lost my train of thought a little bit, but it's because I keep thinking about how much this book captured, like, some feeling. There was a couple times. Usually I have no problem, like, I'm listening to the audiobook. I'm going to listen to 5 chapters. And, like, I get to the end of one chapter. I can easily go to the next one. There have been a couple times this book where I'm like, I might stop right now. Take a little bit of a break, because it was pretty effective in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nexus said something that I also had written down to talk about. He said, speaking of Bale talking to people, how did we feel about Perrin in this? I thought that he wasn't awful. He had some nice moments with Mon, and the timing works out that Lita might have conceived at the end of the book.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
I mean, I really like that.
He definitely. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I really like that. Out of any moments from this with Perrin and everything too, because he's not always my favorite character. But when Mon Mothma is in the hospital and comes to and stuff, it is said that he has been there the entire time. Yeah. And I'm like, man, I know. Like all the shit I give him sometimes about stuff, but like he was out of anyone, like he was making sure he was there for his wife that whole time when she was like, is she gonna survive? She was. This bomb was really close. She was injured. Like, I thought that was great, and I don't know if that led into why they may have conceived a baby. But
I understand. Yeah, it's kind of. I liked seeing those scenes. I like seeing him in that light. Whenever I see him in the Andor series, I'm not thinking that they've been together for how many years now, and marriages change throughout years and stuff, and they don't always change for the better or anything. But it was nice to see, like, I I think they probably had some good times in their marriage.
Yeah.
When the galaxy's not on fire.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I mean, that's the thing, too. Like, you've had war, you've had all this stuff, and Mon is a senator.
Yeah.
Where all and what all in the galaxy has she had to be doing, while also, like, she's not with her husband.
Yeah.
Like, her husband is doing whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
So, like, there's this separation thing. And I know there's been, like, talks of them being with people and stuff, too. Even in this one here, she creates a story of her being with someone, which kind of complicates some things, too, and stuff. But she ends up turning him away. Yeah. You know? And I think she also says that maybe that even has, like, some nods into, like, their intimacy moment and stuff, too. Sure. But no, I can't imagine it being easy in a galaxy of war and everything the Empire's going through and stuff, too. But it was nice to see that, like, in the moment of how hurt is she, like, she needs someone there with her, that he was there with her, which I thought was great.
Yep. Yeah, me too. But it was cool to see him interact with Bale a little bit.
Yeah.
And Nexus says, like, Perrin and Bale being car guys is quite funny.
I know. Was there another moment? I can think of the moment with Mon where she was like, "Oh, and here's that speeder." Bale and Perrin would have known what it was, but Mon does not. Like, it was like one of those kind of moments.
Think about it. Maybe like his speeder that he brings to the Jedi Temple is like a hot rod. Because now that we've seen a lot more Coruscant in the Disney era, like, not everybody has tricked out awesome speeders. He had a pretty cool speeder he caught Yoda in, you know?
Yeah. Get in here. Or whenever he parked in, it's probably the same speeder, actually, I think, right? When he parked in, what was it, Jet Lucas? Was that who it was?
Yep.
Who was the Jedi kid there?
Yep. But yeah, this book made me, you know, the first season of Andor, like Perrin, when he has that, what's that one line he has where he talks about how boring something is, you know, when it comes to Mon. I'm just like, man, that's such a insulting thing to say to your spouse, you know, like, you can think it, but don't say it, Perrin, you know. It was nice seeing these moments here that I think I'm going to bring that with me into Andor. There's a lot of stuff to bring in to Andor with this, but
I think there is
for that character,
for Mon especially.
Like, the first time I read his name in this book, I was kind of, or heard his name in the book, I was kind of like, oh yeah, Perrin's in the, you know. But
yeah, I guess most of our experience with him has only really been Andor, probably, right?
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he was incepted in Andor.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I don't remember Mothma having a husband.
Sure. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's in other books or other comics or anything, but I feel like most of my knowledge of him comes from what I've seen of him in Andor. Sure. And I did like him much more in this than I did in Andor. Though in Andor Season 2, I think he's been better. Like, it seems like they're working together more so in what they're after. And like, there's, was it this book? I feel like it was this book where there was kind of like this talk of, like, Perrin would do this, and he's great at talking to people, and I could be able to go and do this. And there's kind of like this way they work together to do things, but it's also kind of separate at the same time. He doesn't know everything she's doing. You
get the feeling like, you know, and this is the case with super high-class marriages in Chandrilla and other cultures. Like, it's more of a partnership than it is a loving marriage, but I like the threads of, like, no, there's loving in there too. Yeah. It's just, it's not at the forefront.
Yeah.
But Leto was a Legends character brought into canon, but Perrin is new. Okay, I didn't know that. That's cool. Interesting.
The book brought up, it was with, let's see, what was their name? Chimish. Who was a, like, I don't know, disciple of Hati. Is that the right word? Like an agent under Hati.
Is it Haki?
I thought it was Hati.
Hati? Okay.
Is it with a K? Maybe it's. Let me see. I have it written somewhere.
Gotcha.
Haki. I put Haki, but I don't know. I just, because I was listening, I always just write things phonetically. So, like, my E-O de Joritz is like E-E-O, the word day. So I keep trying to do that with it. So thank you, DGO, for the bits.
Thank you.
100 bits. Yep, Haki. But, like, Haki was an old, like, Imperial agent who also worked for the Republic that was ended up with Bale. Was it Haki that also had the line talking about, like, Empire, Republic, different names, same people?
I think so.
So like their viewpoint, and I get it, where it's like it's the same thing as what it was before. It's just that the way the law is working now is different, right? But they're not really looking at it like that. It's like my people were in trouble, the Republic came to save it, and now I will use my life to help save the Republic. Which is definitely kind of the opposite of Sujan, who was like, my people were in trouble because like they couldn't like they were dying out because they couldn't breed or something like that, and they needed like genetic help or something, and the Republic didn't. Like they voted and it ended up being a no, and then they didn't go and help them. So then Sujan held that against the Republic. So it's like they're both on like opposite ends of that aspect.
That's a good point. I did appreciate seeing some Imperial points of view that weren't like hard-hitting Imperials that we know that like can't show much in terms of like remorse, or maybe they could change, you know. And I am kind of anticipating if these characters continue on to the next couple books, we might get some Imperials that switch over.
Yeah,
you know, depending on, I don't know like what the time period of the next couple of books is meant to be. Like, are we gonna have a significant jump, or is it gonna be right after? You know, that type of thing. But I do want to follow them a little bit more.
Well, were you surprised about Haki at the end? Because like I thought she was dead, and I was like, did I miss something, or is it just like this is a surprise right now? Because I thought she died in the flood, or at least she was gone.
Sure,
but it felt like, oh man, she's dead.
Yeah.
And then whenever like Chimish shows up at the end and like Haki's there, there is, I mean, you're talking about Imperials changing sides or any of that kind of stuff. They had that line where it's like help your people, help your employer, help your nation or something like that, right? It was like the order of like trying to watch out for stuff. And she felt more like, I don't know what the answer is anymore. And I'm like, okay, well, someone who's been so gung-ho about protecting the Empire, because it's the same as the Republic, you could have some changes there. And then they also talked a little bit about, like, why did Zuma? Is that the name? It was Mon's, like aide?
Like assistant.
Yeah, Zuna or Zuma or...
The one that gets...
That
killed.
Dies, she dies in it.
Like it's meant to be Mon's kill, right?
I think it's supposed to be like
the target.
Yeah, but it was her instead.
Yeah.
But then there was like a question by Chimish towards the end too about like why was she killed? Like maybe she knew something. Maybe it wasn't supposed to be Mon, but it was covered up to be as if it was Mon.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll pick that back up.
Yeah.
In the next book or so.
So I'm curious on that aspect as well. Zuna. Yeah, Zuna. Thank you, Nexus.
Zahuna.
But yeah, her death, like, it didn't hit me, but what her death did for others hit more, I think, too, because I wasn't super attached to them yet. But that happened early on.
Sure. Yep.
I think one of the harder hitting parts is towards the end of Mon. Actually, this might have been the last chapter, actually. She was, like, standing outside, but she was thinking about the Empire, she's thinking about the Republic, she's thinking about all this stuff going on. And she has a moment where it's like, when the sun rose, she let her fears, her dreams, and her love for the Republic that she believed in go. Like, it's a moment of everything that she thought the Republic stood for, that she wanted the Republic to stand for, what she was afraid that they were losing from the Republic. Like, all these aspects she has to let go and do everything she can as Senator Mon Mothma. Like, she can't be a pacifist because she's killed someone. She can't, like she has that moment. It's like, hopefully this is enough and I can do enough. And then, like, I think we see more of what that is weighing on her in Andor.
Sure.
Like the dance scene that we had in Andor, I think is one of her, like, she takes 2 drinks and it's a matter of, I'm not thinking about anything and I'm just going to try to dance and relax. And it's like, this one talks about her anxiety and everything. She takes anxiety medicine and stuff too. And her buildup in, like, I mean, literally the anxiety, the tension, like seeing Moss say, like, look, it doesn't matter what you do. We already did the war and we won. And you think you can start a war? It's over. And she's just wanting to try to save as many people as she can, and to just finally let go of everything, like watching the prequel movies and being like, here's what the Republic's meant to be, watching Clone Wars and the Republic trying to come and help people, and you're like, this is what the Republic is meant to be.
Yeah.
And she has to just let all of that go. And I'm like, man, this is so sad and terrible.
It's sad thinking about, like, the High Republic and Lena So, like, we are the Republic, for light and life, and what's come to. But yeah, Mon she has to let go the idea that we can still salvage this. Like, we can get it back. We can do it. We can rein him in.
Yeah,
but you can't rein him in. You'll get the reign of the
Empire. We'll remove his power. Someone else might go into power. We'll figure out something else. And she's got to the point now where it's like there's nothing we can do. Like, that's why she goes and makes an alliance with Bale and Saw and let us not get in each other's way. And what'd she say? I kind of liked when they talked and they were like, we will all do like, what was it? Saw is going to be the fighter who fights the fights that you can't even win. Bale is going to be like the hope and the light, and then Mon was going to be something else, and I don't remember what it was. I think she was gonna fight the governors that like remove governors that shouldn't be governors, and she was gonna fight for the authority being used in these like facilities that shouldn't be used, and like that was the route that she was gonna go.
Sure.
So like there was all different things they were fighting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, at least there's like a light idea of what they're wanting to do. And I don't know. This whole book is just it's the acceptance that the Republic is gone. It's the acceptance that the Jedi are gone. Like
we have to let that go.
And the more I think about that, the more I'm like, that sucks, and I hate this book. But it does it in such a good way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it
is the dark times, Aaron.
It's like the wrap up of episode 3 from like the rest of the galaxy.
I definitely agree that this fills in like some story holes for like the wrap up of episode 3. There's a couple books that I consider when I'm thinking of the wrap up, and this fills in the political gaps that I think is needed.
You mentioned about Padme, like the haunting that Bale has of like wishing Padme was there. I really liked when he did his speech and the vote was coming through and he told 3PO to stay.
Yeah. I know. That was nice.
Because it's like, oh man, that's the last little bit of He doesn't remember a dang thing.
Yeah.
But it's the last little bit of Padme that I have that can just kind of be here and no one knows,
Yep.
And I just thought that was so sad and sweet.
Peaceful until he starts talking.
Yeah. Oh, it's an honor, sir. Like, no, please don't talk about it.
Anyway, I quite enjoyed the book, and I'm greatly looking forward to where they take us next in this series.
Yeah. No,
I don't know exactly when that's going to be.
I am interested as well.
Yeah.
The book got me. I think the part when the book got me the most interested early on was in the first chapter from the Admiral. I really liked when he's like, they're talking about the Jedi and different things. Like the question I would ask is, why did the Jedi want to kill Palpatine? like sure they must have. Like that's what he said did. He never said why they wanted to. What was the reason? Like they got up so high in their like arc of the hierarchy of Jedi like leadership. Yeah. They got up so high into that, no one caught on, no one knew what was going on. And that was an admiral of the Empire. But he was like, yeah, but they were good people, He's still here. So like everything's so complicated. Like here's an admiral for the Empire being like, hey, Jedi, we're good. Yep. But then later on he shows up and shoots all these people, And I'm like, what are you applauding the good, but you don't need to be the good? I don't know. But yeah, it covers a lot, like you said. Episode 3, what does the galaxy think?
Yeah.
Mon Mothma and the Senate. What would they do after Padme's funeral? What's happening in the galaxy?
Yeah.
And this is what is happening in the galaxy. They even talk about the siege of Coruscant and what it was like, and Mon explains it to Sujan a little bit too. Yeah. And I thought like getting that was an interesting bit because it's like, wow, the rich important places got fixed up, but some of them other places like we just don't look at that. I'm like, dang man. Well, but it's also been 3 weeks. But yeah, I don't know.
Yep.
So yeah, it's written really well, but it sucks.
Alexander Freed, I believe, was the author, which I know he did a series of books called Alphabet Squadron that maybe one day we'll get to.
I've heard that.
We haven't really had any like Starfighter-focused novels yet, have we? For you? I know that you've always really liked pilots and
Did we?
starfighters.
I don't think we have.
But we haven't really had that. I read the old X-Men.
Dude, X-Men?
The X-Wing books back in the day, and Koran Horn and stuff. And next says they're on the plan, the alphabet, I'm assuming. But yeah, so maybe that's the next time we'll get to Alexander Freed's authorship. But I did like his writing and his prose. I thought he was pretty good. And he also wrote Battlefront Twilight Company.
Well, we did do that one.
And the Imperial Agent storyline in the Old Republic.
Oh.
I played not all of that storyline, but what I did play, I really enjoyed. That's cool. Okay.
A lot of the Star Wars Old Republic storylines are really good.
Yep.
And some of the books beforehand were good.
Yeah.
A lot of that was Drew Carpesian, but I didn't. But having Alexander Freed do some of that, that's cool.
Sure.
I didn't know everyone that wrote those, so really good.
Looks like he did the Rogue One novelization too. I've never read that one. I'll have to check that out. Okay, well, guys, that was the Reign of the Empire, the Mask of Fear. The next book we'll be covering is going to be Force Collector by Kevin Schnick.
Schnick.
And the thing that's interesting about this is that it takes place in 32 ABY. So that's shortly before The Force Awakens. So we'll be going into the sequel era.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to that.
And we haven't done any books in that era, have we? Huh. All right.
Don't believe so, sir.
Interesting.
Yeah. And that's kind of the thing I want the most. You know? We have so much supplemental material for the other eras, and it's only made the prequels better for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
You know? Better and better and better. To the point where I can rewatch those movies and enjoy them so much more because of that. I want to be able to do that. I know there's a lot of that out there already, but we haven't gotten to it yet.
Clone Wars added a lot. Bad Batch added a lot. Yeah. Even Rebels added a lot to, in that era.
Yeah.
But I have talked about, wanting, man, Mandalorians, it's close, but it'd be great to, give us a little bit more in that era. So that'd be interesting to read a book in that.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. That'll be the next one. So if you haven't read it, you have a month.
A month.
You have a
yes.
month.